Yeah, me too, buddy.
Now, starting off, what can you tell us about yourself?
My name is Katina. I am 29 years old, happily engaged to my beautiful fiance, and have my stepson, 6 year old. His name's Sean. I go to barber school currently. It's kind of my pickup trade. After 4 years in the military, I spent 10 years in kitchens, and I kind of said, I'm done with that. So now I cut hair.
Okay, well, before I ask you how did you get into the military, and I'm going to ask you where you stand on gay rights. It's hard-hitting questions I ask you, and you can ask me anything you want, gloves off.
Absolutely.
And
So I was 23 when I joined the military. I signed up and left for basic training February 10th, 2010. I spent 4 years in. It was pretty intense, but I learned a lot, and I met a lot of really, really awesome people that I'm happy to say I'll be lifelong friends with. And it was just a really, really great experience. It really was.
well, you kind of jumped the gun. I was going to ask you if you enjoyed high school and college first, but okay, let's do this first.
All right, well, we can talk about high school and college. We can talk about whatever. I'm down for the cause.
Like you said, you brought it up. So, what motivated you to join the army? And did you get a lot of shit because you were a woman, or did a lot of people give you a lot of respect because you were making perfect? You were beating the status quo of this is not a man's world or a man's war. That anyone who has the heart and passion can fight and defend their country.
Um, what motivated me was my grandfather. He actually passed away the June before I joined the army, but he was in the army, and I was just in a really tough time in my life. I didn't really see how I was going to get very much further in my career if I did not join the army because I just didn't have the funds for college to get a good degree. So I actually had initially joined just for college so that I could get that pretty GI Bill so that I could go to and make something of myself outside of the military. The longer you spend in, the more it becomes something else. Like, that you're doing something that not even close to 75% of our country even has the balls to do. So, it really opens your eyes to what the rest of the world is going through and what our country is going through beyond the lives of the civilian, beyond the 9 to 5 push and what's happening on Wall Street. We've got hundreds of thousands of people that are your friends and your family and somebody that you knew in high school or that guy that you worked with for a couple of months who go to this foreign country and they fight for you. And when I say they fight, I really mean like they really fight for you. And to have that to be able to say that I'm honored to fight for this country is like an understatement. I really feel like a lot of veterans get a lot of slack because this war may not be the best political move, and it may not have happened for a real reason. None of this we will ever truly know, but I do know that what we did while we were there really does matter, and that's really what it comes down to. But as far as being a woman in the military, there are some people who give you a hard time because especially because I mean it was almost instant. As soon as I joined the military, my body started breaking down. So I spent a lot of time in sick call and trying to get treated for these aches and pains that nobody could explain. And I got a lot of slack because I am a woman, and I was in sick call often. So there was a lot of times where I was restricted on my actions because there's something that had happened with my back or my knees or my hips that prevented me from being able to fulfill my job 100% to the fullest. And, you know, I think it goes as well because I was able to drive on, I was able to push through those things, and I was able to, make a difference, in the lives of my family, however little it may have been for their freedom, and in the lives of the people that I served with. You know what I mean? It's just all around, it doesn't make a difference how much slack I got for it or how much respect I receive in the long run. I know that what I did was good. So. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, absolutely. My grandfather was in a war. He served in World War II. He was in North Africa, then he was in Italy.
That's awesome. Tell him I said thank you for your service.
I would, but he passed away.
Oh, I know the pain, so I'll send a prayer up for him.
I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem.
And World War II had the Vietnam, no, not Vietnam. That was a train wreck. Pearl Harbor had a big influence during World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think, and that's for their generation, but for our generation, do you think 9/11 had a big thing to do with it? And what made
Absolutely.
you? What made you? You mentioned your grandfather, but what actually did made you? Was it 9/11 that gave you the extra push?
It was about 9/11 that I really started contemplating it. It was always something that was in the back of my mind. Like, I'd really love to wear that uniform. It's just something that I always thought growing up. But it was after 9/11 that I really initially first started talking to recruiters. I don't know if you remember that day, but I was in some kind of studies class. And my teacher walked outside, and she was on her cell phone, and she walked back inside, and she had this look on her face that stopped the whole classroom. And I was sitting next to Michael Cordero. I don't know if you've talked to him. I haven't talked to him in years. Regardless, I was sitting next to him. She turned on the TV, and we had just been learning about what happened to the World Trade Centers back in the 90s in our history class. So when she turned the TV on, everybody kind of stopped and was like, is this real? Is this really happening? And right as we said that, the second plane came and hit the towers, and that's when we knew it was real. I actually went up to High Point with another friend of mine later on that day after we had gotten out of school, and you could see the smoke because, as you know, High Point, you can see the skyline from High Point. And you could see the smoke coming up from the city, and it was just like, it's just moving. Like, that's the only way to say, like, it just floors you to know that these people hated our country so much that they felt like they needed to devastate us in such a way, like to harm us like that. And I would definitely say that was a big part of what initially attracted me to the Army, was being able to do something about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember because you were class of 04 and I was still in middle school at the time, but we were in high school together. I joined in 2003. I remember, it's funny, but it's not funny. It depends on how you look at it. I went in my classroom, the teachers were in the corner huddling, I was just sitting there like this, waiting for class to start. One of them saw me, says, Keith, wait outside. The other I didn't move, so like, how come? The other one says, get the hell outside. And standing outside, this other girl who was in my class came in, and put her stuff down, and she sat down. I didn't say a word to her. And I was like, son of a, she can do that, then I'm going to do that. So I walked in and I was like, God damn it, Keith, we told you to sit outside, stay outside. And then it says, everyone goes to your homeroom, and the homeroom just go back to your main class goes back to your homeroom. So I was going back and forth, and then it says, stay off the computers, don't turn on. That's why I was surprised you even turn on the TV, because we were
told, I don't think that she was supposed to turn the TV on. I think that she couldn't help herself in the moment. Plus, if you remember, a lot of the people in our graduating class, a lot of those people had moved down from the city, or moved up, rather, from the city. So there were so many of us that had friends and family still in New York City that it's kind of hard to keep that kind of information away from people, especially at that age. You know what I mean? So we were just all of us on our phones, and then that's when we knew everything was really real, because nobody could get through to anybody on our cell phones. All the networks were down. But it's so intense. It really was just crazy how so many years later you can remember so vividly that day, you know?
No, it was a disgusting day.
It was a disgusting. That's a perfect
your subject, and I didn't mean to put you on the spot with the gay rights. I talk about hard-hitting questions like gay rights, gun control. So I'm going to ask you some questions, and you can ask me anything you want. It's uncensored, hard-hitting. Okay. But I just want to apologize beforehand. I didn't want to...
I'm really hard to offend, so please ask away.
Well, before we get to the hard-hitting questions, and before I pass the show over to you, like I do with all my guests, going back to your high school years, what were your favorite classes? Who were your favorite teachers, and who did you hated?
Oh man, okay. My favorite classes. I'd have to say, I mean, I took a lot of art classes, a lot of off the wall art classes too. So I took a lot of those photography classes and stuff like that. I'd have to say photography and advanced photography were my favorite classes, just because you get so much self expression. And being high school students, we don't realize how much expression we actually get for ourselves, you know, and we don't take advantage of it. We take so much time to manipulate to what we think everybody else wants to see that you don't take the time to be yourself. And that's why I think it takes so long for people to become themselves. I mean, I'm 29 and I'm still finding things out about myself, you know, but photography, it was just a really easy way for me to kind of take the world and show everybody how I saw it, which is not something that you get to do very often when you're in high school, when you're young like that, you know. As for my worst classes, well, my favorite teacher, I'll start off by saying, was Mrs. Blatt. I don't know, you remember Mrs. Blatt?
I never had her, but a lot of people liked her. A lot of people didn't like her.
She was so eccentric. You know what I mean? You can only be taught about the history of this country so many ways before you're like, okay, it's mind-numbing, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, we've learned about this stuff, it's whatever. But she brought a whole new level to the game. I mean, she was, 74 when we were there, so who knows how old she is now. I think she's actually still teaching, if I'm not mistaken. But she was just always so exciting, and it's nice. It's as frustrating as it could be sometimes when you really just want to lax out and not pay attention. She really kind of made you remember these things that, you know, affect you now that you're older, and it does make a difference, and you really do need to know these things. I'm happy that I can remember them because of the crazy things that she did, you know? But as far as, like, my least favorite class, oh, man, I really didn't like math. I was good at it. I've always been good at it, but I really didn't like it. And I'm not going to say who my least favorite teacher was, because that would be in bad form. But she was a math teacher, and I had her my senior year because I flunked out of math because I was hard-headed my junior year, and they put me in a parentheses class my senior year, so I was in 11th grade parentheses. So if anybody watching this was in class with me, then you probably know very well that I really did not like that teacher.
Like I said, I got along with a lot of great teachers, like Mr. Roll, Mr. Simpson were great, Mr. Hintz was great, and they really influenced me in a lot, especially Mr. Roll.
Yeah, Mr. Roll influenced me too. He was a great guy. He really was.
And while on the subject, how did you join audiovisual, or were you ever a part of the audiovisual department?
I was part of the AV club for my senior year. I was always interested in it. I actually ended up going to college for the first time that I went to college. I went for a few months for radio broadcasting. That's how interested I was, or how interested AV Club made me. And I just talked to Mr. Earl about it. And he put me on the schedule. And, you know, senior year I DJ'd a couple times a week. It was a good time. You know, I met a lot of really awesome people. I formed stronger friendships with people I had already been friends with. Sarah Mandigo, Sarah Odes, all those kind of people and whatnot. It was just, you know, I don't think that they put enough, what's the word I'm looking for? They don't make it important enough for kids to be involved in extracurricular activities.
Yeah.
You know? Like, they expect these, 17 and 18-year-old kids to know what they want to do with the rest of their life when they haven't even experienced half of the things that are potential for their career for the rest of their life. You know what I mean? I think it just should be more of a mandatory thing for kids to be involved in extracurricular activities. Regardless, AV Club was awesome. I also did stage crew for I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none.
Well, on the easy subjects, I got 4 left, and I'm going to pass the show over to you.
Okay.
And if I hesitate, I apologize.
Okay.
Yeah, and the first question I was going to ask you was, where were you during the food fight? Start off with that one.
Which one? The senior year, the last one?
Yeah, the 04.
Okay, I was in AV. I was in AB actually, and we heard that everything was going on. We heard there was a lockdown, and then because the AB was right next to the cafeteria, we heard everybody filing out, and we heard it get really really crazy. So we had run out of the AB room. Right there, there was a table set up right beneath that billboard, and we jumped up on top of the table. I couldn't even tell you who I was with. I want to say Sarah Oates. But I'm not positive. Regardless, there was a camera right underneath us, and the camera that was right underneath us is actually the camera that caught the video that went viral on YouTube.
Yeah.
I can't find that video anymore. I think they took it down. They won't let us watch it anymore. Regardless, I was standing right there, so I saw the whole thing, the whole big explosion in the middle of the common area, the soda bottle being thrown. I watched Dylan Lappin get cuffed up, if I'm not mistaken. John Winston got cuffed up for no reason. It was pretty crazy. It was pretty outrageous. But, hey, we had to be the worst at something. Apparently being the worst at high schoolers was the best that we could do.
That's true. Now, were we part of the audiovisual department at the same time? Or
I think we may have been, yeah. Yeah, because I did it our senior year. So I did it 2003, 2004.
And I joined in 04.
Yeah, we definitely did. We definitely worked together a little bit. I'm sure of it.
Remember Matt Barbados?
Of course I remember Matt Barbados.
Who
could forget him? He's just, if he doesn't he can fill up the door frame, let alone, how can you forget somebody who can fill a door frame,
I was so pissed because I wanted to go down on my senior year, and we were supposed to, I hung out with him the next day. That's funny enough. So I couldn't go down because of the whole lockdown.
Yeah.
So I remember calling down and saying, well, are we still on tomorrow? Here's my number. Hung out. Basically, we went to S&J's. And something happened with his car, and we had call it a day. And then that's the last time I ever heard of him. I tried patching things up, catching up with some.
I actually haven't heard from him in... Oh, man, probably about 5 or 6 years. It's crazy to think how long it's been, really. The last I heard he was doing good, though, if I'm not mistaken. It's been quite some time, though. Definitely before I joined the military, and that was back in 2010, so it's just crazy to think about all that stuff,
Well, I do have a couple questions for you after the show.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is, and actually this one, it's not a big deal. Do you still have your yearbooks, or you got rid of them?
I do not have my yearbook. I don't have any of that. I don't know where it is. I've moved a lot. My life's been pretty crazy since high school. I've lived in a lot of crazy places. I've done a lot of crazy things, and I don't know where my yearbook is, unfortunately. I wish I did, though.
All right, and the last question is, your favorite sport activity. Did you ever
Football.
You never did? Okay.
What about... Are you talking about high school?
Yes.
Oh, high school? Oh, man. Oh, that's hard to say. I was on the track team for a really long time. I did track from like 8th grade to 10th grade. So, I could go with that. Yeah, track was fun. Shot put. A little 100-meter sprint, I can't run like that at all. I probably couldn't push a shot put 5 feet at this point. But hey, it was fun when I was younger, so.
What about football you liked?
Oh, I love football, man. I still love football. I watch football all the time. Jets fan. All day. I bleed green.
I'm not really in. I like football. I'm not down with this player. I know Tom Brady. I know the other guys, but I'm not really into the whole stats and everything.
Oh yeah. But I play fantasy, so I kind of have to be for that much.
But I love the Jaguars. I love the Panthers.
Oh yeah, you got a thing for cats?
Yeah. Also, I like the logo too.
That's what's up.
Well, I was gonna ask you to be a guest on my show when we do it in person. I'm always looking for people to help me out.
And absolutely. Unfortunately, I'm in Ohio, so I could definitely co-host via Skype with you. But the next time I visit New York, we may be able to get together for a show.
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
And I have to show you some of my interviews I did. I was interviewed by Mark Melanie. I don't know if you heard about Mark Melanie from the Reading Circle.
Okay.
He interviewed me. I was interviewed by Bay Ragme former ECW wrestler who has his talk show Total German Radio. I was interviewed by L.A. Cooper from Talking Out Loud. She's in L.A. And it's like, that's great and all, but I want to be interviewed in person. And I was offered, come into the city or come to New Jersey to do this, to do that. And I was like, okay, but I don't have any money. So the reason I'm working in the store is to pay off my credit card. And once I pay off the card, then I can start going traveling to the city and doing this and doing that. Or go.
That's awesome.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no, you're good. I interrupted you. I just said that's awesome.
So I could go to New York, California, or we can hang out in it. Or Ohio. That's all I have money and get myself together. But basically, to make a long story short, I had to eat shit, got sick, and I don't know, a lot of people say it's kind of good that I got sick because now I have an excuse to do the talk show. If I wasn't sick, okay, you have a disability, but okay. But now I have social anxiety, I have panic attacks, I have ADD, ADHD, among other things. And I guess that, a lot of people say, oh, well, it's kind of good that you got sick, now you have more ammunition. It's like, yeah, well, it really screwed up my health.
Yeah.
But, was there any other questions you wanted to ask?
No, I think we're pretty much wrapped up there.
And now I'm going to ask you hard-hitting ones. I'm going to ask you 2 hard-hitting questions. Right. And I'm going to pass it over to you first. You can ask me any hard-hitting questions you want. It's uncensored.
Any hard-hitting question I want?
Yeah, okay. Anything you want.
What is the worst thing you've seen somebody say to somebody else that you could do nothing about? Like, what situation have you ever found yourself in where somebody was being discriminatory towards somebody else and there was absolutely nothing that you could do to stop the situation?
To be honest, I'd never seen that, luckily enough. But I had that happen to me.
Okay.
This history teacher for the school we went to, special education teacher, so that says a lot right there. So basically, he heard from one teacher, from another teacher, and about saying, oh, I heard, blah, 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 you worked here. Well, I need a jacket. So let's see if you're capable of getting me a jacket. I know you're incompetent, and I don't know why the store even hired you. Let her, I was standing next to my friend at the time, let her help you. And because I know she's more confident than you are. Or maybe she's not, but I don't want anything to do with you. And I was so pissed. And if you ever see Empire Records?
Yeah.
My boss at the time, who I really liked, he looked like Joe. So
okay.
I gave him like a Brooklyn accent. I don't remember how he sounded, but so it's funny. It's the Brooklyn accent. He's like, "Hey, Keith, what are you doing back here? You're supposed to be on the floor." Told him what happened. Okay, you point him out to me, and I can put him in his place for you. At that point, the guy ran out of the store, and unless he did see him, I don't remember. I was in the back room. It's like, oh, too bad. I wanted to have a few choice words with him.
That's crazy that a teacher said that to you?
Yep.
Man.
It's disgusting.
It is. It's disgusting. That's the only way to say it. That's just the word. It's just disgusting. Oh, man. The human race is disgusting. Gosh.
Was there a second hard-hitting one?
No, I can't think of another one. I've been racking my brain, too, these last couple days waiting for this. I'm like, man, what can I ask him? I have no idea. What you got for me?
Oh, the first one isn't. I don't mean any disrespect. It is uncensored, hard-hitting. You can pass on the ones you don't want to answer. But with everything going on.
This is how I feel. I think the government was stupid to put the word marriage in that amendment.
Right.
Because it opened up the door for every religious, Nazi in the country to harp on and target us because of the person that we love. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's got a right to love somebody else. It doesn't make a difference if it's a woman or a man. It shouldn't make a difference if it's a woman or a man. And that simple word, just changing that one little word would have changed the entire movement. And we wouldn't have people like Kim Davis over here talking about how she's working under God's authority and denying us the right to join together in this civil union, which is really all we wanted, was the same rights as everybody else. I mean, religion should have nothing to do with it, but for some reason, it's got everything to do with it. And I mean, it shouldn't matter. That's really how I feel about it. I think that they were stupid for putting the word marriage in there, and if they had just changed the word marriage to civil union, then none of this would have happened the way that it would, and it wouldn't be such a big deal. Because then, when I didn't get married at the church because that church doesn't perform marriages for same-sex couples, it wouldn't have mattered to those people, because I'm going where it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? And it's just one big excuse for the. I'm a conspiracy theorist. I think they threw that little amendment in there so that they could blind us with the media from something way more important that's happening in this world. But I think that a lot of people might agree with me there, and some other people might call me crazy. Regardless, it is what it is.
No, I agree with you. And I personally, unlike, thank God, knock on wood, I have my parents with me. And I'm always thinking one day I'm going to be on my own, or I'm trying to prepare myself and put money on the side, and I'm really hope the talk show takes off. And I'm trying to get from one day to another. So, you liking your girlfriend or whoever liking their boyfriend, I don't give a shit. To do whatever you want. Leave me the hell alone. Because I'm trying to get from one day to another, and don't distract me. It's just minor bullshit.
Exactly. That's really what it comes down to. Everybody's just trying to live one day to the next, and we're all trying to do our own thing. And as long as I'm not, like, being super disrespectful and, like, I don't know, sucking face with my girlfriend in front of your family at 5, you know what I mean? Then you have nothing to worry about. I'm not doing anything to offend you, and that's all that matters. And I don't do those public displays of affection because I don't want to offend anybody else. But what happens behind closed doors in my house when there's nobody else around is nobody else's business, and that's really what it comes down to.
I know one more part to that. It's where do you stand on having it in the media, especially with the media jamming it down people's throats.
Oh gosh, I think it's just there's so many more important things happening right now, like Russia bombing Syria, like our troops are getting ready to go back and fight like 3 wars at once. You know what I mean? Like CERN's making groundbreaking movements with their technology, trying to harness dark matter. Why does the government really want us to take the Confederate flag away? For like, these are the things that you know what I mean? They're little things in the eyes of somebody who doesn't care. But for the people who think about our lives and our lives for our children to follow, these are more important things. If my kid is straight, it's not going to make a difference if 2 gay guys get married. If my kid is gay, then more power, because now my gay kid gets to get married to who they want to get married to. That shouldn't matter. We need to be focusing on things that are really important. Border patrol, health insurance for people who can't afford it, because let's face it, even as much as Obamacare can help some other people, it's not helping a lot of people that it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? This minimum wage garbage needs to be sorted out. All of this stuff needs to be way more important than who's marrying who.
No, absolutely.
But personal relationships should have nothing to do with how people think about our country. And that's really what it comes down to. We need to focus and bring this place back to the place that it was just 15, 20 years ago. We were, the top-notch country. Everybody wanted to be us because we had a great economy.
Right.
We had a happy people. Everybody was making money and spending money, and everybody was comfortable. And the next thing you know, nothing is that way anymore. And I think that our generation really needs to hone it back in and bring it back to everything that it was. Teach our kids right so that they can do for our country what we're doing for it, instead of bringing it down like everybody else has.
Well, you brought up a good about immigration. That's the last thing I want to talk to you about. But
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you, how is gay rights and transsexual rights the same thing? Number one, and what's the TV shows of drag queens or two gay guys? And that's fine. Do whatever you want behind closed doors. But once you go on the media and you start feeding into the whole media bullshit, where do you draw the line? Like with your son or daughter, what do you?
Okay. Um, in terms of what I deem appropriate, is that for my kid? Is that what you're?
Yes.
Okay. Uh, as far as like standard, basic public displays of affection, like a small kiss here, hold my hand. You know what I mean? Telling somebody that you love them. That's all publicly acceptable. It's when you start crossing the line, you start, saying inappropriate things that nobody wants to hear, whether it's from a gay person or a straight person. When you start making something sexual that doesn't have to be sexual in a place where it shouldn't be sexual. I'm going to turn my kid's head away from a straight, like, if there's a, we'll say, there's a newly married couple. They're younger. We're at Walmart. They're kikiing over some peaches and they start making out. I'm going to turn my kid's head away from that because he doesn't need to see what those people do with each other.
Right.
But it's the very same thing. I don't make out with my fiance in front of my kid because he doesn't need to see that. That's not something that his 6-year-old mind needs to comprehend. I'm not going to introduce him to that because that's not something he needs to know about. Really, ever. If it was up to me. But that's like crazy parenting stuff, I guess. Regardless, you know what I'm saying? I draw the line on gay in the media at the same place that I draw the line on straight in the media. You don't bring things that belong in the bedroom out of the bedroom. You just don't do it. And if you do, I'm going to turn my kid's face away from it because he doesn't need to know what's happening as far as those things go. And as far as gay rights and transsexual rights being the same, they are the same. The only thing that I might get a little, heat off of it is that, we can't be expected to have unisex bathrooms. It's never going to be socially acceptable in this country for a man and a woman to sit next to each other on the toilet. Ever. But if you are legally if your sex has been changed legally and you are no longer a man, you are a woman, then by all means, go use the woman's bathroom. It's not like anybody's watching you pee, so why does everybody make a big deal out of it?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Bill O'Reilly came up with this, and I support it. Do you support Kate's War?
Who?
Kate's War. Basically, the name of war after Kate. Kate was this girl who was killed by an illegal immigrant. So Bill O'Reilly created a war called Kate's War. It's now for illegal immigrants who come to the country. If you do the paperwork, if you do everything right, okay, you get the American dream. And it isn't just Mexicans, and it's the Canadians, it's the Chinese, Japanese, and the same thing. If we went to their country, we would do the same thing because that's the right thing to do. In legal immigrants who are gangbangers, lowlifes, scumbags, basically the one who killed this girl who was an illegal immigrant. There's more to it, but let's remember him killing her. And they sent him back to Mexico, and he kept coming back. Basically, the war is if you come back after we kick you out, it's a mandatory 10 years in prison.
Hell yeah, but not our prison. I'll be damned if I'm paying for your illegal ass to eat good and sleep comfortable for 10 freaking years. You can put his ass back and make sure that the other countries compliant. He's running from you guys. You guys lock him up. We don't want your mess on our hands. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that illegal immigrant war, that whole conversation, that debate can go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Do people have the right to come over here and earn the American dream? Absolutely. But please, do it legally. You're going to make more money if you do it legally anyway, because then you get to file your taxes, and then you're going to get money back, and everything will be great. If you come over here and you expect us to just give you a free handout because you made it, I'm sorry, I can't support that. Not when I'm over here struggling to put food on my table. You know what I'm saying? I mean, damn. Did you know that some like 6 to 8% of the taxes pulled out of every American's paycheck goes to government payroll?
I didn't know
Did you
that.
know? Yeah. Well, did you know that soldiers still pay taxes? Military still pays taxes. We literally pay ourselves. All right. So if we're paying ourselves to work in the military, by what right do you have to come over here illegally and take some of my hard-earned money to make sure that you're okay? That's really what it comes down to. Don't do it the wrong way. Do it the right way. Come over here, do what you got to do to get yourself some papers so you can work legally. It'll help our economy too. But shit, don't do it the wrong way, because I'll just as soon give you the boot.
Basically, the last subject I want to ask you is, you've seen the commercial for Wounded Warriors.
Yes, absolutely.
And you were in the Army, do you think it's the Army's responsibility to protect you? Basically, how long were you in the Army for?
Almost 4 years.
Now, you gave up 4 years of your life to defend us, and thank you for that.
Hey, no problem. It was a good time.
I can't get the words out. What a love and respect for you doing that for us. And basically, I actually tell you a side story real fast. There was a woman soldier, who was in the Army, and I said to her after I was ringing her up, "Thank you, and God bless. I thank you for all you do." And she said, "Okay, yeah, thanks." But the side note. But I was gonna say, you gave up.
I'm sorry about that, because unfortunately, I wish that all soldiers had the same respect for themselves and for the service that we do as like I do and my friends do. That's disrespectful of her to just brush you off like that, and that's a sorry ass soldier, if you ask me.
Yeah, absolutely. And you did 4 years, but you gave up. And if you came back, God forbid, was your side of your head blown off, or if you were blind, missing an arm and a leg, do you feel it's the government's responsibility to be there for you?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Absolutely. I was actually put out of the military on a medical discharge. I have some injury in my back, chronic pain and degenerative disc syndrome, and I don't know what I would be able to. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have the help that I get from the government. I mean, essentially, it's their fault that my body broke down the way that it did. I mean, obviously, I have to take some responsibility. I pushed myself beyond my limits, and that's what really caused my injury. But man, if they're not gonna, if we're gonna give up so much for them, then why can't they just give a little back for us? You know what I'm saying? I've got soldier friends who, can't work. My friend Danny just got 100% unemployable, retired because of some mental issues that he's got going on and some physical issues that he's got going on. I've got friends who've died over there. I've got friends who came back and killed themselves because of what they're going through, just mentally. That's not even what they're going through physically. That's just what the things that they've seen and the way that it affects them, And it's just, if there wasn't the government there to back us up after we backed them up, then who would be there? So hell yeah, I 100% think that the government is responsible for what happens to soldiers and veterans once they get out of the military. Absolutely.
Do you think, like I said, it falls on the government's responsibility, but do you think it's like my responsibility or normal people's responsibility to pay for people who serve? Yes, we're giving back because you guys served in the Army.
No,
but
absolutely. I do not think so. I don't. Nobody should be forced to pay for something like that. The government takes on that responsibility when they let us sign up for working for them. And it's in our contracts that if we get put out on a medical or anything that happens to us that's service-related, it's in a contract when we sign up that the government will take care of us when we get out, pending appeal status. All right? Pending VA disability status. You by no means are responsible for what happened to me while I was in the military. Now, if you feel like you feel obligated in yourself, out of due respect, to donate to the Wounded Warrior Project, or to donate to DAV, you know what I'm saying, or to donate to the VA to help, do some extra stuff for the soldiers and stuff like that. If that's something that you feel obligated to do, if that's something that you want to do, by all means, have at it, but nobody should be forced to do that. I don't think so.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, wrapping up, how can your fans follow you on social media? And do you have any words of wisdom you like to share?
All right. You can follow me on Instagram at Katina the Barber. You can try to add me on Facebook, Katina Starlyn Duane. But we have to have a mutual friend, and I'm not changing that for anybody. And what did you say? Closing statement? Be you and be happy being you. And nobody can love you as much as you can love yourself. And don't forget that.